going on, which is awesome. Forgot about that. Susan, our chair, had another obligation today, so she's not going to be able to make it. I did want to give you folks just a little bit of an update, kind of just some global information that I was privy to. July, I believe it was, I was back in DC and got to spend some time with the folks at EPA from their waste division. And they were really excited because for the first time ever, they were part of the infrastructure bill and they got a good bunch of money to look at things like increasing recycling and hub and spoke type model work. So we're keeping our eyes open for funding opportunities. It'll likely come down through the states, but I believe it's still going to have to be requested. And maybe folks from NDEP might have seen some preliminary stuff come through on that. I'm not sure yet. Probably not till after October is what I'm thinking. But it was really encouraging. It was a neat opportunity that we had to talk about some of the struggles we have in the interior West that was not apparent to the teams over in DC. They were struggling to understand why recycling in places like Nevada and Utah is so hard. But when we were able to present them with the logistics of having 90 to 100 miles in between towns, sometimes 200 miles in between towns, and you've got two population centers on either side, like they started to get a little bit better of a idea of what we're dealing with here in Nevada. So that was really kind of a eye-opening for them. So what I'm hoping that did was put us on the radar for understanding that our infrastructure is struggling in Nevada and we could use some help. So keep your eyes out for that. And if anybody hears of the funding source coming down, please speak up. I know Kayla and Bree will keep their eyes open. I'll keep my eyes open, but there could be some funding opportunities coming to us through this infrastructure bill. So I just wanted to put that on everybody's radar. And then I think that was really the only announcement that I had up front. And so if Kayla, if you want, you or Bree, I'm not sure who's taken the NDEP topics, but if you would like to roll into those, and then we'll go to the project team updates afterwards.
Absolutely. That sounds phenomenal. So yes, I am the NDEP representative for the Policy and Funding Committee. Bree is taking over the Sustainability Committee going forward. And then Allie Sabo, who's our new Education Outreach Coordinator within NDEP, is going to be the Education and Outreach NDEP personnel for that committee as well. And she'll have some updates coming up shortly indeed. So first thing I want to talk about and discuss today is the bylaws that we've been, proposing for this group, and just how do we get more structure to this group? We've been hearing from a lot of personnel that how do we bring in more members? How do we, start structuring, start voting? How do we, if we want to put something into the legislative session, how do we go about that? So you're trying to see really how can we start that structure process? So bylaws, structure, rules, whatever you want to call it. We're just trying to see how can we start really solidifying what the Partners for a Sustainable Nevada means and kind of how are we going to proceed going forward. So we included I'm just calling them bylaws, but call them whatever you would like for now. We've included that information in our prior newsletter with just the complete draft. Bree Case did a phenomenal job just researching what other similar organizations' bylaws looked like is just kind of a starting spot. So as you guys read through these, nothing is solidified. It is just something that we threw together just to have a starting point and a draft. Also in the newsletter is a link to a survey. So if you have, a problem or an issue with something and say, hey, this really, I think might cause problems later down the road, or I would like to see X, Y, Z, or if you just want to put out some support of, I'm excited that, we're getting some structures to this group. We really like that continuous feedback so we can, again, tailor what this structure is going to be looking like for this partnership moving forward with the intent that ideally in however many years this group will be self-sufficient. So please, take a look at that. We'll include that in our next newsletter update as well. The next topic that I want to discuss is the Sustainable Nevada website. Some of you guys have been following the Education and Outreach Committee. Their main project that they've been focusing on was looking at changing the Nevada Recycles website to more of a sustainable Nevada website. Again, just retailoring what our message is going to be to the community about sustainability. We are by no means losing recycling. It's not being pushed aside. We're now saying that there's a lot more to sustainability than just recycling. How can we bring all of these programs really together so they are succinct and complementary and supportive of everyone and all programs within there? So please go ahead, check out the new website. They just started releasing it this past week. So it's been very exciting things, and there's been changes really daily. I think the next largest big change coming up is we're going to be switching the Nevada Recycles logo to the PSN logo. I just put in the purchase order for that today. We're going to push that through and get that change here hopefully in the next week or two. But this really is going to be the website for PSN. So check out all the great work that they've done. They've been working several months on this, and it really does look fantastic. So great kudos to the Education Outreach Committee. All right, and the last update that I have here is looking at our draft Sustainable Materials Management Plan. So to give you guys a backstory, every 5 years, NDEP has to put forward a solid waste management plan. We are coming up to our 5-year renewal. And instead of, again, just focusing on that end of life solid waste management, we're looking at how can we really expand to sustainability and what does that mean? So Bree Cases, again, she has taken upon this task and has been really engaging the PSN to say, does this, does this plan make sense for Nevada? So we've been first running it through the waste haulers, the local health districts, the counties, just for their initial feedback. We've made some tweaks based on what we've received from them. And now we're going to be pushing it out to you guys so you can view this draft, provide any comments. I think Bree put the link there in the chat. So take a look there. She would like all written comments due back by October 21st. And additionally, she will be holding an open meeting for PSN members to go through the plan, go through how it was proposed, what changes we're making. And now if you have any questions about the sections, we can address it at that time. And she'll be holding that on October 7th. We have the sign up link here. All right, so I know that's a lot of information I just threw you guys this way. Does anyone have any questions? All right, hearing none. Tina, we can now move into the project team updates, and I can help cover those for the people who were not attending today.
Sure. Also, thank you guys over at PSN for the newsletters. I just wanted to say I appreciate that they're informative but succinct and all the information's there. So they're very helpful because I think this group has a lot of moving parts. That being said, we're going to go into the project updates, and I have a little bit of a chat when we get to the end that I'd like to talk about. But for project 1 we're looking to identify policies to improve recycling and infrastructure and demand. So I didn't know if is Clint on by any chance?
I don't think Clinton is, but I know Lakshmi has been managing this group. And I don't see her in today. I think she's in India right now.
Oh, very cool.
I know. Yes, very exciting. I was like, I can't wait to hear.
Kayla,
okay.
Lakshmi was on the sustainability project. Was she also on the recycling one as well?
Oh, I apologize. I have the wrong list up. I am so sorry.
That's okay. I think actually we are struggling with leads on the policy change and funding projects. I was going to close with that, but maybe I'll lead with this. We're struggling with leads for all of these projects. We have NDEP liaisons covering it, but we are certainly struggling here. And my thought around this might be maybe a follow-up meeting and we hone in on a couple very critical items and then bookmark the remaining ones for picking it up in the future, just so that we can make some progress. And Kayla and Bree, you can correct me if I'm wrong. That might not be the proper strategy, but it's just a thought that came to mind knowing we're having a hard time getting leads for these folks. So maybe what I'll do is if you, I know Phoebe, I thought I saw Phoebe call in, and did I see Linda too on the call?
Yes, hi, it's Linda Miller here. I am here.
Hi, Linda. Maybe we'll go backwards and work our way up since you're on the line, and to discuss the current status of your guys' project group.
Oh yeah, thank you. Um, um, let's see, I think I would begin with, we've been doing a lot of work. And thank you, Ali, for her incredible support and others behind the scenes. I know it's been a huge team effort. The software, I love the software you all brought on board. What an amazing tool. I've totally embraced it, fleshed it out. I don't know if you've taken, who has taken a look at it, but
Yeah, Linda, so I'll let everyone know the software you're talking about. It's called
yes.
Monday.com, and we provided this service for our team leaders to use. Yeah, general members have not seen it, but yeah, Linda's done just a phenomenal job at utilizing it and really moving her group forward. So sorry, I just wanted to provide that little bit of information because not everyone knew that.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Kayla. Sorry, I've just been, you know, nose in the sand on that, and I just assumed everybody was on board with that. So, and was aware with that. But yeah, Monday is fabulous, and in helping to keep us organized and keeping notes and focus and resources. So I encourage anyone who's interested in just taking a look at what we've done there. Of course, there's always room for improvement in how to leverage that software, but I'm a big fan of it. So our scope, we did quickly move forward with our scope in where we are today in trying to cast a wide net in reaching out to sustainability program managers in the state. And so we have quickly were able to line up speakers on a monthly basis. And on the PSN website, you will already find a presentation by the City of Reno, UNR, and Clark County. And we have others lined up through the year, and now we're working on moving forward in looking broader in who else to reach out to. And I think Elko is one on the list, and we, Ali and I have put our heads together and have a plan for moving beyond that as well, because it's a big task. But I'm excited. I know Ali's excited, and I hope everyone else is excited about this outreach and the information that we'll be gathering from that, and then trying to figure out what to do with it next. Ali, would you like to add anything to that?
I think you hit the nail on the head. That's a perfect overview. Yeah, coming this month will be South Lake Tahoe. We'll have somebody from South Lake Tahoe. We'll have someone from Truckee, just because they are very close neighboring here with Nevada. So we do want to hear what kind of things they're doing as well. And I think we'll have Marco Valetto from Las Vegas. I hope I said his last name correctly. And yeah, like Linda said, we're going to try and do some rural outreach. That will be our focus next. And then compiling those presentations, the data that we collect from those program managers, and then how are we going to take that data to help PSN identify those issues of things that are working well, things that are not, and just kind of, drive home a specific project, which we haven't really narrowed down yet, but we are working on it.
One thing I would add is that, I'm sorry. One thing I would add is that I know I proposed this early on, and I'm not sure if it's even really doable, but an idea that I had looming in the back of my head that Ali and I have talked about is, wouldn't it be wonderful if we just at some point call it an official coalition, NDEP PSN coalition of sustainable project managers, program managers throughout the state. Wouldn't it be amazing if at some point there were developed an annual conference that brings all these people together and that helps to inform even people that don't have programs in place, don't have the wherewithal to have any programs, but at least they're aware, to make them aware that we're here, they're welcome to listen in, and who knows what the development might be in the long run.
Linda, I love that. This is Tina. I love that idea. And I actually, when you said that last time, the first thing that came to mind for me was like if we could possibly hold it the afternoon before the NACO annual conference, the Nevada Association of Counties conference. So you could have all of those folks that are from the various counties have a reason to come in the day before and participate. That idea is not lost on me, and definitely in my notes. I love it. And then secondly,
Terrific.
I was going to ask both you and Allie if I've been able to listen to a couple of the calls, but overall, is there a theme that you're seeing between these groups that are successful? Is there something that's standing out to you yet, or is it still a little bit piecemeal that you're not quite pulled together?
So we have three under our belt at the moment. And Allie, please, feel free to pipe in. But one overarching sense I'm getting is that it's extremely varied in terms of number of people that exist in a department, resources, how they're organized or just winging it, how they handle funding, who are the decision makers, who's pushing it, behind the scenes, so it just is so varied at the moment.
Yeah.
But funding is a big struggle for sure. That's a common theme, is funding, right, Allie? Would you like to add something?
Yeah, I think for me, what I've gathered so far from the 3 presentations we've had, they've all been very different, but there is a very large underlying tone of energy conservation. Having LEED certified buildings and things like that seems to be the heavier focus for the people who have presented so far. And I would imagine that's probably because, you can start that on a smaller scale, doing smaller things. And, UNR is always adding to their campus. So it's kind of easy for them to think about it when they're putting it into new infrastructure. And like Linda said, I think the funding, her and I have asked a lot, what comes first, the funding or the idea? Is it something that you're like, hey, I think we've got this great sustainability idea, let's go find funding for it? Or is it, well, we only have X amount of dollars, what can we do with this X amount of dollars? And so it seems to be slightly varied. UNR is more driven by what the students would like, and what they want on their campus and what draws people to want to attend that campus. And then, Clark County is doing some really great things. If you guys haven't had an opportunity to watch Sam Baker's presentation, I highly encourage you, because the all-in Clark County is a pretty cool plan. But underlining, I would say, is energy focused more than sustainability practices.
Yes.
But nonetheless, doesn't mean that they're not doing work, for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, and one thing I would add to that is looking at our neighbors, which share borders, Truckee and South Lake Tahoe. They are definitely a lot more progressive, have gained more ground on the waste reduction front. They are definitely cities to look at on the waste reduction front. Like, for example, particularly like reducing plastics, styrofoam. If you look at the city of South Lake, they just recently passed a plastic bottle ordinance banning plastic bottles. And in 2018, they had already banned plastic straws and styrofoam and other things. So, and of course, we share a lake, we share land. So it's just really interesting to talk to them, and they're interested in collaborating. They're interested in collaborating in conversation and in any other ways. So, yeah.
That's good to hear. Thank you. I guess there's so much potential there, but hearing what's successful, I guess, is the is a great start, and I feel like I'm taking notes here, but I feel like you guys have done a wonderful job kind of wrapping your heads around it by taking outside folks. And this change can be hard for people. Trust me, we got rid of all single use type stuff here in our office, and you would have thought we took people's firstborns away. But they're getting better. That's
I am
hard.
looking forward,
Okay.
real quick, Tina. I just want to let you know I'm really looking forward to what we'll have to report to you once we do some rural outreach. So everybody hang tight. I'm really hoping that we'll bring some pretty good ideas to see what our rural communities are doing and where their area of opportunity really is.
I am super curious about that. That will be very interesting. And I think too, just keep in mind that it could potentially dovetail into that funding that's available. The funding that I was seeing available is really for disadvantaged communities and rural communities was their focus on the funding. So keeping that in mind, there might be an opportunity for us. So if we can help in any way, please let me know. But as soon as I hear, I'll let you know. But I'm excited to hear about that.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I think
go
that
ahead.
wraps it up on our end, unless anyone has questions about what we're doing.
I love this. No, I think it's just great. Okay, good stuff. Anybody else have additional questions before we move on to the next group? Okay, thank you guys so much for all the hard work. This is awesome. I'm going to move right back up the list, starting at the bottom and going backwards, just because that's how I roll. Phoebe, are you on the line? For some reason, I thought I saw you on the line for the pilot program for multi-family recycling.
Yeah, so I actually stepped down from the leadership position with PSN for that. And honestly, just because it didn't really make sense for me to take leadership on a statewide program. I'm, part of this group as a WM employee, and I can really only reach as far as our franchise agreements reach. What we decided to do is take a step away from that group for now and work within Washoe County on a pilot. So we do have something in the works that will hopefully be, implemented in 2023. At this point, it's still to be determined, but my goal would be to use the results of that to help, the state in finding or outlining some type of program that they could use statewide. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Okay, still pulling the rope in the same direction. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Is Abby on? Or Kayla, do you have an update, or is Abby on? I'm not sure.
Are you talking for the next Policy 5?
No, for Project 6. She's on my
Project 6.
as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's another heads up. So Abby Olson decided to leave NDEP just a couple of weeks ago. We went just taking over and just kind of spreading apart. But yeah, no, she's been just doing a lot of work with Phoebe, and since there's moving forward in Washoe County, we'll see, when we're ready to bring that statewide, to bring that back into a new project.
Okay, good. So should we table this one for now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me make a note here. Okay. How about Project 5, Bree? Comment on the NDEP solid waste. You kind of gave us a highlight on that. Is there anything in addition to your NDEP topic, Bree, that you wanted to bring up?
No, just want to reiterate, if you guys are available to attend the October 7th workshop, even if you haven't had a chance to read the plan yet, I'm going to go brief overview of it. So highly recommended, and I put a link to register for the workshop in the chat.
Perfect, thank you. So at a minimum, if you can't attend the workshop, if folks have a minute to browse the plan and at least maybe comment, that would be helpful to all of us. But if you can attend the workshop, we'd love to see you there. That would be great. Okay, moving on to Project 4, which is to create opportunities for organic material end use and market development. Allie.
Popular today.
You are. I'm just going to hand it over to you.
I don't see Cody on our call today. The last call that we had, we're still narrowing down the menu of options that Cody has for the types of organic material that have potential for end use in the market. We did speak with somebody from the U.S. Forest Service on our last call. She weighed in on, how to perhaps move wood from restoration programs that the Forest Service does into companies like Cody's to kind of help divert that waste and put it to end use. And I know that we will be meeting with somebody from NDOT, will be attending our call this month. So we're still kind of doing outreach, really, and just talking to those different agencies in different areas to see who has that material and how it can best be used. But as of right now, there's really no specific focus on what type of material it will be or what that end result will look like yet.
Okay, very good. And I did at one point, I don't think I copied you. I think I copied Kayla. I did reach out to my contacts at NDOT and also ask them and kind of push them from the contractor's perspective that, when we're doing restoration, it's pointless to go seed these hard rock ditches and expect something to grow without some sort of soil amendments. And that would be such a nice end market for these types of things. So, pushing on the DOTs and the municipalities to require some sort of soil amendments to actually make things grow would be great.
Okay.
And it creates a good end market. I didn't hear back from anybody, so I'm curious, is it their landscape architect that's calling into your call? Do you know who it is by chance?
I would have to look up, I believe it's a female. I would have to look up her name and send it to you. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head who that is.
Okay.
I can definitely get you that information though.
I would definitely like to, come from the private industry side to reinforce what we're trying to do here, because that's the discussion always is, what's the end market? You can take all this material you want, but if you don't have somewhere to sell it, we're kind of stuck in a ditch. So,
or the space to put it. And I think that was the struggle also that Cody was having. He's like, I don't have the capacity to take on all of that material, or I don't have, the amount of people to do that as well. And so it's like, there's all these great ideas, but the feasibility of it, I think, is still the harder part.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Okay.
But I think that's a great idea, and I certainly get that information to you after this meeting.
Okay, so as in my notes, I just put that you guys are narrowing the options for appropriate materials and end users.
Perfect.
Is that okay?
Yes. Thank you, Tina.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And I think Lina was on the line. Did I see you? For streamlining current organics processing facilities?
Hi, I'm here.
Hello, how are you? We can hear you.
I'm okay. I'm sorry, I don't really have much of an update. I work for Burning Man part-time, and it just took up my August and getting back to reality in in September. So I'm trying to get back, touch base. So we did have to cancel our meeting in September. We did have one in July, and I know that it is on my list, and I just pinged Kayla again about us getting together to talk about some regulation drafting. We had an idea poised by one of our members, by Cody, to suggest that licensing for compost be operator specific versus landowner specific, which I think is probably a good thing to explore. And I always like talking about the financing of projects, and some technologies that I hope can be easier to get through the system as we go forward with this important work, and reducing waste, green waste in particular, with some of these technologies. So apologies for not being super prepared today. I'm trying, but it's been a crazy month.
No, it sounds like you guys are it sounds like you're making progress and you're working on stuff. So I will say there is an example of permitting operator specific instead of land use specific, with NDEP, when we do our portable crushers for air quality, those are operator specific. So my permit has a change of location application and it goes with me to my pits. So there is an example of that. It's just a different entity. So if you want to look at those or you want to ping me, I can send you a copy.
Yeah, that would be great. It's always good. I think there's examples probably in other areas as well. I mean, within NDEP, it just apparently in this particular one, there's not. So, but yeah, any language we can cannibalize would be, would certainly make our life easier.
And then my other thought with this was, and I've brought it up to NDEP air quality before, about how when we're looking at the whole, when it comes to net zero, right? When we're looking at it as a whole, that these organic processing facilities are actually a net negative, and that I don't think that they should be charged the same as those of us who are putting pollutants into the atmosphere. But the cost for a processing facility for an organic processing facility is the same as it would be for me crushing rocks. And I just think maybe in that process, they should consider your impact, because if it's a net negative impact, why would you have to pay as much? I don't know. I know that complicates everything, but it bothers me that, I don't know. That's just a thought that I had, and it probably made it worse, but whatever.
I really like that. I hadn't really thought about it. The one client that I have that does dehydration of waste streams that can be used for green compost, yeah, their facility is has zero emission impact in that process, because it's such a low temperature. And I hadn't really thought. And then of course, if you have like on-site, gasification or other means to get rid of what is dehydrated or what's processed, that, you're right, that's a boon as well. I like that idea. Thank you for that.
Just a random thought to complicate your process.
No, I like it. It's good. Yeah.
I did see Jessica Preston had her hand up. Was that an old hand up, or do you have something first? I apologize. I just noticed it.
Yeah, we can talk offline. I had some thoughts around that. But yeah, Tina, I can send you kind of a note with some comments on that. I just am concerned because I think there's a lot of, especially when it concerns air pollutants, I think there's a lot of lack of information out there, for lack of a better term, around what the actual emissions are. It hasn't necessarily been quantified. Now, if you're talking about a true gasification system or something that's fully contained, that's one thing. But I think it might be worth looking at what's actually been quantified in terms of air emissions from the EPA when we're looking at these different processes.
Yeah, that would be, if you would include me in that discussion, I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I had a thought too about the operator specific versus location specific requirements, because a lot of those location specific requirements are to protect the local communities. And unlike, a mobile crusher that comes in and is there for a certain amount of time, if you're building a facility, I think there are more potential issues in terms of runoff or odor or vectors that can crop up when you're talking about organics. So there's a reason why there's those location specific requirements, but that's just a thought. I don't.
More permanent than temporary, where mine would be temporary.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the issues are more varied than, dust or say some PM10 or something like that.
Yeah, because you don't quite know what you're getting.
Yeah,
because you could wind up with some people being bad actors unintentionally.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I love this group because we have experts from all over the place. It's awesome.
All right, so I do want to hop in really quick. So also within this group, and more specifically within NDEP, we're starting to look at our NACs to see really what needs to be updated. A lot of our composting regs are honestly pretty old, and so looking at this, we are looking at trying to push forward in probably the next permanent reg cycle of how can we start getting some of these reg changes in. So that's going to be including a lot of the stakeholder outreach. very similar to what Bree is doing with the Sustainable Materials Management Plan. So right now we're at the very preliminary stages of just getting feedback. What ideas, do people want to see in our reg changes? So that's where a lot of this is stemming from. But yeah, any of these changes coming in. So we're talking about the, the operator versus location permit holder. What other things do we want to discuss and kind of see how do we want to start changing our NACs moving forward?
I love this. Good stuff. So we should keep notes of all this stuff as we move forward and continue to communicate that to you guys, which you'll see because you're in the meetings. But I just want to reiterate that we should, as we stumble on these challenges, we need to make notes of them, or opportunities, both.
Yeah, I don't know if this falls in that conversation, but what comes to mind is food rescue or food recovery programs that make it easy for restaurants to participate in.
So as I understand it, there is a recent bill on the book, or there is a law on the books that does allow for that. And we had a recent proposal come forward from Las Vegas that was very similar, but it kind of proposed some of the same things that are already in the bill. Kayla, do you know if that's where we settled on? I mean, we didn't settle either way. We just heard a presentation. But is that
Correct.
true? Did I capture it right?
Yes, that was Alex Perron's bill that he is proposing to put forward. He has, one of the legislatures in mind of who said he'll bring it forward for him. He's done so far 2 presentations. The first one, it was including composting the food recovery. The second presentation update he did really took out all the composting regs and just focused on the more food inspection side. So was taking a lot of the really good comments, very constructive comments that he received from the last meeting, and is, still molding his bill. I haven't seen the latest update since it was sent out to the group during that last presentation. But I did send him over, Tina, the how does it, compare to the other bill, and I have not heard back from him yet. So I will go ahead and follow up with him today to kind of say just where we stand.
Right. It's good to know there's stuff in the works from all angles. We just got to kind of get our thumb on it. So good to hear. Are we good with Project 3 and can we move on, or was there any other updates, Lena?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you for all the hard work despite having to manage Burning Man. You're doing great.
Yeah, it was a hot one this year.
I bet. That's an understatement. Okay, project number 2, identifying funding to focus on illegal dumping. Is Wes on, or Allie, are you taking this one?
We'll take this one. So I think that we are also going to table project 2 right now. I know that KTMB is kind of doing some of their work for illegal dumping. They've been established. They've had a lot of success, I believe. And Phoebe, pipe in if you'd like to here. I don't want to put words in, but I think Phoebe is going to focus and help that a little bit. So we're going to table that project until we either can find some new members to focus on the funding portion of that, or we'll just keep it tabled until we decide maybe there's a better project to put forward instead.
Okay. And I think, yeah, maybe we could, the follow-up is that we have Kim or somebody from KTMB maybe give us a little update on how they did, and we could just learn from that.
Certainly. I think that's a great idea.
Okay. But I did put table for now and then update from KTMB.
Okay. Yeah, I know they have monthly meetings. I attended one last month, and they've got a lot of resources, and they're already kind of in collaboration with a lot of people here in Northern Nevada. So perhaps at a future time we could, get with them and see if maybe we can get some of their support.
Yeah, I think, this kind of goes back to Linda's comment about being a coalition, right? In my brain, when we have people like KTMB or some of these entities doing sustainability things well, we want to be careful to not try to take it and
Yes.
own it, but rather support each other in that effort and build
Absolutely.
on momentum that's already going. So
Yeah.
I
So we'll
think
just
that's
revisit
probably
that. I think I agree. Couldn't have said it better.
okay. Then on to Identify policies to improve recycling infrastructure and demand. Okay, this was the first one that we really, Kayla, do you want to help me?
Absolutely. So actually, I see Patty is on our meeting as well. She's been doing a little bit of work with this. Patty, I'll turn it over to you. Hot potato.
I'm sorry, Patty, what do you want? I apologize.
Thank you, Kayla. Hi, everyone. This is Patty. So I don't know. It's kind of a long process, I guess. So really, what I've kind of been focusing on is our hub and spoke idea for rural recycling, and we've made just a tiny bit of headway in the last since August. I went to a conference in Austin, Texas by the Resource Recycling folks. And one thing that came out of that is the Recycling Partnership is very interested in partnering with us on a pilot project. And what they have done in a few other communities is instead of collecting the material, so usually at a hub and spoke, like you have a bigger city like say Ely, which is not a big city, right? But a bigger community like Ely be the hub, and then the smaller communities around can feed their materials into the hub, and to get more material in a shorter period of time. And so usually it's been collected source separated, right? They collect the aluminum, the cardboard, and they get enough to bale and send off. And so the idea that we're working on is instead of doing that, you compact the waste, the recyclables, I mean, and collect them, a single stream, and then take it to a MRF. And so our idea is going to be working with Republic Services and bringing material to them, which I see Jessica's on the phone, and we haven't actually spoken to each other about this yet.
Sorry,
but
no, you've been trying. I'm sorry, I've been slammed. I'll get back to you today, I promise.
But that's okay. So what we're looking at now is finding identifying our first community that is actually interested in doing it. And so we're looking more along the other side of the state. So like Hawthorne, Tonopah, something on that end of the state. And so that is where we are currently. It's a little bit of progress, and we may actually get a pilot off one of these days. So, but like you said, there's also national funding that may be coming available. And so really what I want to do is, figure out what it is that we need, because if we know, when the funding comes, you don't usually have a lot of time to get prepared. And so it's like, well, let's find out what kind of equipment we need for these communities. Like we were out in Ely about a year ago, and they said, well, we need forklift, so it's like, okay, that's kind of doable if there's money for equipment. Not a lot of times in grants there's not money for equipment. So but also using these partnerships like the recycling partnership, it's like they have funding, and so they were really interested in having communities work with them, and they do different kinds of projects all over the country, from reducing contamination in recycling stream, doing education outreach, but actually, funding equipment and whatnot. And so CARP projects, whatever. So it's like, how can we, not if we can work with them, but how we can work with them to further all of our goals. So that's kind of what's been happening lately with our recycling infrastructure. Any questions?
I think that sounds promising and on the right track. And you said something really interesting just about the comment about you never know this funding's coming, and the next thing you know, it kind of drops on all our desks, and then we go, oh, we have all these needs, but we don't know what they are, and then it drops on the desk, and then you kind of find yourself behind the 8 ball. And so, what I might challenge each of the groups with is that maybe at your next meeting, if you had to put together a half-page ask, wherever you are in your process right now, what would your half-page ask look like? so that if, you know, Kayla or I call you at midnight and say, we need to dump your project into this grant application, you at least have thought about what we're asking for, even if it's just a startup funding. And it can morph as we have more meetings and we make progress. But I would not be surprised if in the next 60 days, there's an opportunity for us to drop a project into a grant. So that would be my ask of the group, to be ready for that. So just be thinking about that in your groups. But overall, I think that you guys have done a great job and made some great strides. And it looks like we also have some stuff that kind of tabled itself. So unless you have somebody that, you know, you think of and you want to resurrect one of these, we'll put our focus on what's remaining here. And is there anything specifically that didn't come from a lead or a liaison that anybody on the call had comments on, or on any of the projects that you had comments or ideas on? If you did, now is the time to speak up. Okay. I'm not hearing anything, so I don't want to cut you off early, but okay. So that being said, from the liaisons and the leads, is there anything that, any asks you have of the group at the moment? Anything that you need help with, or that we could be looking into specifically for your groups? Other
This
than
is
if we
Linda.
get grant funding.
Yeah, this is Linda Miller, Project 7. As we start to reach out to more of the 17 counties that exist in Nevada, and then we'll be drilling down from there, we may reach out to you and Susan in case, you know, we may need support in making those connections with whoever is in charge. And that's the only thing I can think of at the moment.
That would be perfectly fine, because Susan and I are pretty well connected with rural Nevada. So wherever we can help, let us know. I think that's probably where our wheelhouse lies. So
Perfect.
we're definitely happy to help, especially in the rural counties.
Thank you.
You bet. Good ask. Anybody else? Okay. If there's nothing else, I might give you back 10 minutes of your day. Oh,
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure you had time for all your groups before. I just wanted to let everybody know that we're happy to announce that Steve Orico from Republic Services is going to be the chair for the Education and Outreach team. So keep your eyes and ears open for his name. You guys will get to meet more of him. And if you have time, please join us for that committee meeting. It's going to be this Thursday at 2 o'clock. He'll be on that meeting, and you guys can get to know him a little more and also hear what's happening in a little more detail with our website.
that's awesome.
Thanks, Tina. Thanks, everybody.
Yes. Keep us posted. And again, thank you guys for the newsletters and the links and everything that helps us kind of stay on board. And I will say, for those of us who have not yet gotten savvy in Monday.com, my second challenge is to start using it. I'm challenging myself. If any of you guys want to get on board, please do. I will call fault where fault is due, and I am the worst at it, so I will get better. Okay, anybody else? Okay, thank you all for the update. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting and ask you to stay in touch if you have anything in the meantime that you need from any of us, okay?
All right. Thank you so much, Tina.
Yes, thank you,
Thanks,
Tina.
folks.
Thank
Have a
you.
great
All right,
day.
bye.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.